The South Bend Dart Frog Murders. Written and read by Robert Canter. Disclaimer: the events of this book and all characters therein are entirely fictional. Any similarities to real-world events or persons living or dead are entirely coincidental. This book also contains politically and ideologically sensitive material that some readers may find offensive. You have been warned. Chapter 1. 18-year-old Tom Lime stood staring at himself in the mirror. He had gone to bed early and had gotten up early to get ready for his first day as a senior at St. Thomas More High School, and now he was thoroughly scrutinizing the final product. There wasn't anything particularly special about his short brown hair, apart from the fact that it had been cut recently. Thankfully, there wasn't a trace of acne anywhere on him. He had spent the weeks leading up to today carefully avoiding anything that might cause a breakout. His usually white skin had a healthy tan about it, and it looked like he had gotten his money's worth from the teeth-whitening mouthwash he had been using all summer. Tom was dressed in his best casual clothes. Despite his surname, there wasn't a single trace of green on him. He was wearing a thin, light blue shirt with tan pants and brown shoes. He would have preferred to wear something red or black because his research on the internet told him that's what the situation called for, but his mother had insisted. He was also wearing some tropical cologne, which immediately made him feel like he was at the beach. The only piece of jewelry he wore was a golden miraculous medal that was around his neck. It had been given to him by his grandmother, and he was told that those who wore it would be showered with graces. Tom prayed that the Blessed Mother was smiling on him today. For Tom, today wasn't just the first day of his last year at St. Thomas More High School. Over the summer, he had resolved that he would finally ask Kiania Martins on a date. Tom had never had a serious relationship with a girl in his life, but when he first laid eyes on Kiania during freshman year, he knew then and there that this was the girl he wanted to take to senior prom. Unfortunately, he had never once worked up the courage to speak to her in the past 3 years, and with good reason. Kiania was one of the core members of the girls' swimming team. She was also one of the most beautiful girls on campus, but if you had asked Tom, he would have told you there was no contest. Despite her position in the school's social hierarchy, Kiania had a reputation for being an ice queen, having rejected the advances of some of the most well-known boys in school, including the current football team captain and big man on campus, Fred Smith. As a result, Kiania had been nicknamed the Icy Mermaid. Tom had spent the whole summer preparing for today. He had been working out, toning his muscles, getting a healthy tan, buying new clothes, but it didn't change the fact that he was little more than the eldest child of 2 bakers. Granted, Crazy Caroline's Cakes and Confectionaries was regarded as the best bakery in South Bend, and maybe the entire state of Indiana. However, Tom had still passed through his high school years largely unnoticed by the higher-ranking members of the school's social hierarchy. Tom didn't have any particular reason to believe he would fare any better than any of the other boys that had asked Kiania on a date, but he knew that if he didn't at least try, he'd regret it for the rest of his life. After convincing himself that there was nothing more to be done about his appearance, Tom finally went downstairs, where his mother, Crazy Caroline, had his favorite breakfast waiting for him. Tom dove right into the bacon, sausage, and cheese omelet, and pretended to listen to his mother go on about how she couldn't believe her baby boy was already a senior in high school. When breakfast was done, his father pulled him aside. "You look like total girl bait, son. Take it from me. You've just got to go out there and do it. All you need is a little confidence, and I have just the thing for that." Tom's father took him into the trophy room, where he kept all his keepsakes from his days as a college basketball star. This was also where Tom's father kept his most prized possession, a basketball that had been signed by the entire Chicago Bulls 1991 team, the year of Michael Jordan's first NBA championship. "You're gonna let me touch the ball?" asked Tom. "With a glove on." The basketball was in an airtight display case. Tom's father never let anyone touch it. He must have somehow known that asking this girl out was really important to him. Tom pulled on a latex glove and very gently pressed his right hand against the ball. It was probably just his imagination, but he felt like he had been struck by a bolt of lightning. "Feeling the power?" asked his dad. "Oh yeah, I can feel it." "Excellent. Now go get her." Tom wanted to get going before his younger sisters, Jennifer and Brittany, woke up and told him that he was doomed. He grabbed his backpack, allowed his mother to take her obligatory pictures, leapt into his used black sedan, and was off. The whole time he was driving, he cycled through his favorite motivational songs. Nothing but positive vibes. Nothing but positive vibes. Tom didn't have any trouble talking to women, not as long as he wasn't romantically interested in them. But whenever he was attracted to the girl he was trying to speak to, he had all the wit, charm, and grace of an inebriated dinosaur after a lobotomy. I've just got to smile, walk up to her, and ask her if she'd be interested in seeing a movie with me. Tom already had the digital tickets on his phone. He may have gotten the proverbial cart before the horse, but the movie would have been sold out if he hadn't gotten the tickets early. If successful, he would be taking Kiania to see the highly anticipated blockbuster, Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. Now maybe this wasn't an ideal movie for a first date, but the only other movie out right now was a romantic comedy about a man that had a midlife crisis before he had a first date. Tom's research told him that romantic comedies weren't Kiania's cup of tea. Kiania seemed to enjoy the mystery stories that they had to read in school, so the blockbuster thriller seemed the obvious choice when buying the tickets. But Tom still needed to ask the girl out. Eventually, he arrived at school and felt a quick rush of pride as he parked in a vacant space in the senior lot. He waited until the song he was currently listening to was over before he stopped the engine. I can do this. What's the worst that could happen? Tom had a sudden recollection of what happened last year when Mark Zieg asked Juno Simpson on a date. While Tom had his eyes on Kiania, most of the other men on campus would say that Juno Simpson was the girl that they wanted to be with. And not just because of Kiania's reputation as an ice queen. Juno was the queen bee on campus and captain of the cheerleaders. Her father was the current mayor of South Bend, and she was a blonde bombshell that loved to flaunt it. Mark Zieg, on the other hand, was the president of the school's gaming club. Mark was one of the favorites to be class valedictorian. He was also a tall scarecrow of a man with glasses and messy red hair that looked like a used wad of steel wool. But last year, Mark led the gaming club to victory in the national tournament for the hit sci-fi action MMO RPG Star Warrior. Mark had thought that winning a substantial amount of prize money and earning celebrity status in the gaming community would have been enough to impress Juno. Tom had no idea what Juno said to Mark when he asked her out, but she didn't just reject him. She must have blown him out of the sky with a tactical nuke. Mark had looked like a sad, sick, and dying animal for the rest of the semester. It made Tom think of all the boys Kiania had rejected. Your father just let you touch the basketball. You have to try. Tom touched his miraculous medal, said a quick Hail Mary, and went inside. The seniors were all assembling in the gym for their class photo. Tom didn't see Kiania anywhere, so he took an open seat in the bleachers that wasn't too close to the front or too far in the back. He was presently joined by his friends Rick Stewart and Samantha Brandy. Rick was another member of the gaming club. He wasn't unattractive, but was the kind of person who spent too much time trying to make himself appear more attractive than he really was, as evidenced by the amount of gel in his short blonde hair. After the gaming club won the National Star Warrior tournament, he really let it go to his head. He was wearing blue jeans, tacky sunglasses, and a t-shirt with his gamer tag and avatar displayed on it. Samantha was a member of the women's basketball team and something of a gossip in certain circles of the social hierarchy. Even with her wavy long golden brown hair, she couldn't hold a candle with some of the other girls on campus. This was partially due to her particularly flat chest, but no one would dare say it to her face.
"Hey, buddy," said Rick. "We made it! We're all senior paladins now! And they said I wouldn't make it past freshman year!"
"I'm sure it will be a very eventful year for all of us," said Tom. Samantha studied Tom's appearance for a moment before speaking. "Who is she?" Tom never had any trouble talking to Samantha, but he hadn't told his friends that he was planning to ask Kiania Martins on a date. If he had, it would be all over the school by now, and he didn't want that. "I don't know what you mean."
"Boys like you only groom themselves to the degree you have for one reason," said Samantha. "I want to know her name."
Tom didn't know what to say, so he pretended not to have heard Samantha. It didn't work.
"Old Tommy's planning to put the moves on someone?" asked Rick. "Tell me it isn't Juno Simpson."
"I wouldn't dream of it." Tom didn't want this conversation to go any further. Fortunately, he was saved by some less than savory hoots and whistles from some of the other boys in the bleachers. "Speak of the devil," said Samantha. Juno Simpson walked gracefully into the room looking like she owned the place. She tossed her majestic long golden hair, which was the envy of nearly every girl in school. Then there was her trademark cat-like smile. She was like a beautiful lioness ready to pounce. Once in front of the bleachers, she stood to face the class, and then leapt up and span in the air like an Olympic figure skater. "Go Paladins!" she cheered. "Go Paladins!" returned the rest of the class. Juno gave a big hug to her best friend and fellow blonde bombshell, Karine Fabry, the captain of the girls' swimming team. When Juno took her seat at the front of the bleachers on the left side with the other cheerleaders, Tom looked around for Mark Zieg. He found him sitting isolated at the top of the bleachers. It had been months since Juno rejected him, but he still looked like someone he knew had just died. "He's still not over it?" asked Tom. "He doesn't talk about it," said Rick. "It's really affected his performance in Star Warrior. Most days he doesn't even log in. When he does, you wouldn't know he led us to victory in the national tournament." "Having a girl tell you that you're a hideous waste of oxygen that she wouldn't be seen dead within a plague pit will do that," said Samantha. "She even dumped a specimen like Isaiah James. What chance did a lanky gamer like Mark have?" Isaiah James was the football team's running back. He had competed fiercely with Fred Smith for the position of team captain, but had come up short. At that moment, Fred, Isaiah, and all of the other members of the football team came into the gym and were greeted like rock stars. "Let's go, Paladins! All the way to state!" As Fred and the other football players basked in their glory, Tom wondered how they all got so ripped. He had been working out all summer preparing for today, and hadn't come close to looking like them. Not that it would have helped. At one point or another, Kiania had turned down just about everyone on the football team. After bringing up the incident where Juno had dumped Isaiah, Rick asked Samantha if it was racist for Caucasian people not to be physically attracted to African Americans of the opposite sex. But Tom wasn't listening because Kiania had entered the gym at that moment. Tom immediately felt his temperature and his heart rate increase. "I don't believe it! Did she get even more beautiful over the summer?" Kiania had a flawless diamond-shaped face that made her look like a princess. She didn't use much makeup, but Tom didn't think she needed it. The natural beauty of her tan skin was one of the reasons he found her so attractive. The other thing that made her so irresistible was her shining waist-length raven hair that was decorated with light blue stripes. She always wore it down. As she took her place on the bleachers with the rest of the girls' swimming team, Tom tried his best not to look at her so he wouldn't tip off Samantha. But now that Tom could actually see her, the confidence he had spent his summer vacation building up was starting to evaporate.
You must be joking! She's gonna laugh in your face!
She could say yes, stranger things have happened.
She's rejected the best-looking boys on campus, men that play sports and earn college scholarships. You're a nobody that wants to write comic books. She'll never go to the movies with someone like you. I don't know that until I try!
After the class picture was taken, Casey Rosewood, a petite girl with glasses and 2 braided pigtails, revealed that she had made cookies for the whole class. Casey was a hopeless romantic and far from being the best-looking girl in school, but her cooking skills had earned her a certain degree of popularity. Several students had started to swarm over the cookies, but Casey exclaimed that she had only made one for every senior. It was Isaiah that came to the rescue.
You heard the lady,
he said, making his deep voice audible for the entire gymnasium.
Everybody gets one!
Tom and all the other seniors went to their assigned lockers before heading to their first classes. If Tom and Kiania didn't happen to be in the same class at any point during the day, then his plan was to approach her either during lunch or before she left for home. He likely wouldn't have time to intercept her between classes. When Tom's lunch finally came, he was disappointed to find out that Kiania went to lunch at a different period. That's probably for the best. She would likely have been sitting with her friends from the swim team. During his next class, Tom got permission to use the bathroom, but instead went upstairs. St. Thomas More High School was a Catholic school, so naturally there was a small chapel on the second floor. Students could go there to pray, and the school's resident priest would hear confessions. Tom went in and knelt before the altar.
God, please let me have just one date with this girl. It means a lot to me. I'm not asking for the moon.
The day was almost over when Tom made his way to his obligatory religious class for the semester. The school offered a special church history class which highlighted the various persecutions the Catholic Church had endured over the past 2,000 years and how they pertained to the persecutions it faced in the modern world. The class was being taught by Sister Joan, a nun who, despite being a rigid disciplinarian, was very pleasant to be around outside the classroom. But God help you if you pushed the wrong buttons. When Tom entered the room, he saw that Kiania was in the front row.
Why did it have to be in Sister Joan's class?
Never mind. Just make yourself appealing and don't stare. Tom did his best to smile casually, but Kiania's attention was fixed on the open book in front of her. Tom took the vacant desk on Kiania's right. Sister Joan and everyone else would be able to see him plainly throughout the entire period, but he would just have to work with it. Kiania wouldn't notice him if he took a seat in the back. When the bell finally sounded for the period to start, Sister Joan entered the room and immediately commanded everyone's undivided attention.
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I don't care if you are seniors. The days of Betty Bergoglio are a thing of the past,
said Sister Joan, speaking in her rich French accent.
I will not tolerate evil in any way, shape, or form in my class. If I catch you messing around on your phones, you get the yardstick. If I catch you sticking gum under your desk, you get the yardstick. If you fall asleep in my class, you get the yardstick. If I catch you cheating, you go to hell. Do I make myself clear?"
The entire class responded with a resounding affirmative.
She could give lessons to Coach Matthews, and he used to be in the Marines.
Being in such close proximity to Kiania made Tom's heart race, but he knew he needed to display confidence and somehow attract her attention.
Confidence? She's turned down all the best-looking boys in school, and I'm just some nobody.
Tom stole a quick look at Kiania out of the corner of his eye. He almost wished she wasn't so gorgeous. Whenever he saw that beautiful black and blue hair and that angelic face, his brain turned into jelly. He never had this problem when he talked to girls like Samantha. When the opportunity presented itself for Tom to steal another look at Kiania, he suddenly realized that he forgot what he was going to say to her when the time came.
Calm down. You've just got to smile, walk up to her, and start with a simple hello. But how should I say it? What did Grandma always say? Just smile and ask her her name. But I already know her name. Does she know I exist? Should I introduce myself?
Tom's train of thought was interrupted by the sound of a yardstick smacking down on his desk.
"Mr. Lime!"
Tom was immediately aware that all the eyes in the room were upon him, including Kiania's.
Crap! Would you mind explaining the heresy of adoptionism to us?
Fortunately, Tom had been going to Catholic schools since preschool, so he knew the answer. Adoptionism falsely claims that Christ was born a mortal man, and that later in his life he was figuratively adopted as the Son of God, he said calmly.
And how is heresy relevant today?
The Catholic Church cannot effectively deal with outside threats to our beliefs, values, and our continued existence when we're too busy fighting among ourselves. It doesn't matter what opinions some people have. There is only one true path.
That is correct, said Sister Joan.
Tom breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as it was safe, he looked in Kiania's direction and felt his face turn pink. She was looking right at him.
Oh crap! Smile, you dum-dum!
Tom forced himself to smile and make eye contact, praying that his smile didn't look goofy.
My God, her eyes are like two pools of chocolate syrup.
Tom's brain was melting, but he knew he had to do something. He mouthed hello, and Kiania returned the gesture.
She acknowledged me!
Tom couldn't remember if he was supposed to break eye contact first or not, but was saved by Sister Joan, who brought her yardstick down on another student who attempted to pass a note along. When the bell finally rang, signaling the end of the period, Tom knew it was now or never. Tom had been practicing martial arts since he was in grade school. He knew how to tackle armed opponents, even if he had never put that knowledge into practice. From the way his heart was beating, he felt like he was facing a dozen men armed with assault rifles. At least in this situation, there might be a happy outcome, but Tom couldn't see it.
She smiled at me. That means she's interested. No, she didn't. You're just imagining things.
Tom battled with his thoughts for a moment, but as he clasped the miraculous medal around his neck, something his father had once said when he received the sacrament of confession for the first time came to him. Fear is a survival instinct that helps you stay alive. Fear of God is also the first step toward wisdom. Just don't let it make you a coward. God hates a coward. Tom stuck a breath mint in his mouth and beelined for Kiania's locker. If she rejected him, he would just have to live with it. As Tom approached Kiania's locker, he waited for her to turn around and see him coming and establish eye contact. His research told him that his chances would be a lot worse if Kiania thought he snuck up on her. Of course, the moment his eyes met hers, his courage started evaporating again. "Excuse me, Kiania," he managed to say. "Yes, what is it, Tom?"
She knows my name! You've gone to the same school as her for the past 3 years. She probably picked up on it.
Kiania had referred to Tom by name. Her expression wasn't hostile either. If anything, she seemed amused. Both were good signs. Accounts of other students dictated that if Kiania had taken offense to Tom, she would have responded by speaking in Portuguese and would have pretended not to understand English. Unfortunately, as a result of being this close to Kiania and actually speaking with her, Tom's brain stopped working again.
What's wrong with you? Don't stare! Say something!
You probably hear this a lot, but you have very beautiful hair. Thank you.
What did I just say? Crap! Crap! Crap!
Tom told Kiania to wait, but she never made any indication that she was leaving. Was there something you wanted to ask me? Tom took a deep breath. I know you don't know me very well, but we've been going to the same school for years now. Would you be interested in going to the movies with me on Friday? By this point, Tom and Kiania had attracted the undivided attention of over half the people in the hall, but Tom wasn't paying attention to them. Kiania's face still didn't display any signs of hostility. Which movie? For the second time that day, Tom felt like he had just been struck by a bolt of lightning. Well, word around the school is that you don't like romantic comedies. Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper it is, then. Is that a yes? Asked Tom. A very small smile formed on Kiania's amused face. Thomas Lime, I'd be happy to accompany you to the movies on Friday. Kiania ripped a small piece of paper out of her notebook, wrote something on it, and handed it to Tom. There's my number. We can work out the details when we don't have class. And in response to your previous statement, I know you're the son of the owners of Crazy Caroline's Cakes and Confectionaries, an aspiring comic book writer, and something of a martial artist in your spare time, as well as an amateur gamer. Most importantly, you seem to be a man who takes his Catholic faith very seriously. You may call me at about 8 o'clock. After Kiania disappeared down the hall, Tom stood where he was, completely stunned. Several other people also stood there with their mouths wide open. Did that really just happen? Very slowly, Tom's brain processed everything. He wasn't sure how Kiania knew half the things she said she knew about him, but he didn't care. I have a date! Tom started leaping down the hall to his next class. He was so euphoric that he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings. As he turned the corner, he collided with one of his fellow students and hit the ground with a resounding crash. Once his head stopped spinning, Tom realized there was someone dressed head to toe in black standing over him. Tom had crashed into Callan Doyle, son of St. Joseph County Sheriff Sam Doyle, president of the Literature Club and school goth. Though not involved in any of the school's athletics, his build was as muscular and foreboding as anyone on the football team. Callan was accompanied by his girlfriend, Lillian Anderson. Lillian was a voluptuous beauty with long dark hair and skin as white as fresh snow, but like Callan, she was always dressed head to toe in black. She held the class record for most violations of the school's dress code. This was because many of her outfits exposed too much. It was assumed that Callan and Lillian were together because of their mutual love of horror stories, whether they were literature or film. Tom suspected it went a little deeper than that. Callan glared down at Tom like a big venomous snake. Lillian looked slightly amused. "Watch where you're walking, Bob," growled Callan. "I'm sorry." Not wanting to start something, Tom promptly got up and raced to his next class. When the last bell of the day finally rang, Tom was intercepted by Samantha and Rick as he made his way to the parking lot. "It's all over the school that you asked the Icy Mermaid on a date, and she didn't reject you," exclaimed Samantha. Is it true?" Tom just smiled.
"Tommy, what did you do? Make a deal with the devil or something?"
asked Rick. "Absolutely not," replied Tom. "All I did was tell her that she had beautiful hair."
"And that worked?"
They talked all the way to their cars. Tom drove home blasting his favorite songs at full volume. After months of preparation, despite a few slip-ups, he had successfully asked Kiana Martins on a date. He felt like he had just hit it big in the lottery. This was the happiest day of his life so far. Tom and the other students never suspected the danger that was present that day.
So many happy faces. It's going to be a very